innovating insurance.
Yeah, I mean, innovation in insurance is something maybe the public doesn't really link those two terms together, simply because insurance is seen from the outside as very traditional, very slow type of industry, where from the point of view of the client, nothing changes much. It's as an insurance contract and some claims and some payment, So the means of it are not changing. The basis remains the trust that people have to have with the insurer, and then there's a piece of paper, or if it's not a piece of paper now, you have all those
An app.
digital, etc.
Yeah.
But it's pretty similar. You have the general terms and conditions that respect the law that has been unchanged for a long period of time. Although if I say that, I'm sure plenty of legislator and control authorities will disagree with, because the law changes a lot, but the basis from the client's point of view remains unchanged. And I believe this is why it's seen as an industry without too much innovation. But it's wrong. It's wrong. There's a lot of changes in this industry. If you look at, I'm going to take maybe the example of linking the technology and innovation. Maybe talks, but insurance is the industry that invests the most in digital technology, and it's always done with the purpose of improving the client experience, improving access to client or the client access to the insurer, and also improving the efficiency of the insurance services. But it's step by step. So the real feeling is or jump is very slow, and like human brain is working. When there's a little change, 1 year later we forgot that this change happened, and everything is normal. Then little change happen again, then becomes the new normal. So it's very slow, and the perception then is somehow different.
What is quite interesting, I mean, I have only things to do with any insurance as a customer, as a client from your side. But was quite interesting, when you live in different countries, it's always different. The system is different. It's sometimes hard to understand. But then technology is different. Some countries are super advanced, other countries are less advanced. It's quite interesting. Do you see big differences if we just focus on Europe, on countries and the insurance companies inside of that countries innovating more or less?
Well, when I was with that big German insurance company, I was doing global steering, so I've seen a lot of innovative initiatives. They are different a bit everywhere, so you can't say that there is a country that is more innovative than another one. It depends on people. It depends also on the challenges they face. So if the insurer there doesn't need to innovate, then usually they will just have a period of time where they will innovate very, very little, because it's not the focus. But when there are some issues or challenges, changes in legislation, change in customer behavior, or change in the whole ecosystem, what happens outside the insurance. So we can take a self-driving car, or let's not go there, because that's quite far, and then it's very specific to some location. But let's take simply electric car versus the standard thermal cars, where you have a change in the way the risk is assessed, and because it's different type of risk. Also, the value of the car is different. So these are elements that will influence the way insurance will be driven, or the insurance company will be driven or act on a certain way for insurance contract. It also reduces or lengthens contract depending on the motor you have or type of motor you have, and so these are those challenges coming from something totally outside the insurance industry, touching the clients and the potential claim amount that will drive then the innovation to be under the focus, and therefore, if there's a focus, then there's lots of brain power and money involved. So there is usually outcomes, and that is something that you see. And countries tend to react then differently, because the country's circumstances are different. But insurance companies in the same country will tend to innovate on a similar type of issues, because they face the same issues.
Yeah. So
themselves.
it always starts with the problem that they need to solve, and then they're innovating. It's not for the sake of innovating.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Get it. It's quite interesting, because as a consumer or customer from insurance, I wasn't even thinking about it. Okay, if I'm driving an electrical car that's different than like gasoline car, like these things are so far away from a just pure consumer. It's always, what do I get and how much do I need to pay? And that's what at least I care most about. Mainly the payment, obviously. No, of course, depends on the value that you get for it.
Of
but
course.
it's interesting to hear that, like, the innovation cycle is different, and though that you're innovating internally as an insurance like industry, us consumers, we don't see it, and that's why it maybe seems to be slow, because like, I don't care if I have an electrical car, then I need an insurance, and I have a gasoline car, I need an insurance. There's no other way around. But it's kind of, and I don't care what's behind the scenes. I care when something happens that I get help.
Exactly. But as insurer, this is what you want,
Yeah,
right?
of course.
You want that the client is very happy with, or feels less forced, because you said that, we have to have the insurance for cars, but the smoothness it is for the client, the better it is. And if you let's take the analogy with online sale in insurance and the rest, and it fluences each other, although may not always be on obvious things, but in the way of thinking. So if you online say that it has to be seamless, easy for a client, then it percolates also to the other part of the more traditional way insurance is being driven, and there's certainly a demand for seamless, quick, and easy to do business with type of approach, not only for the online but also for the traditional one. What I always find very interesting is, if you segment, there's the people that buying online and the people that don't want that, and so on. But this is not just two very distinct segments. You have a lot of people, basically the majority of people not buying online insurance. Okay. They will look online for information, but they will not buy.
Yeah. That's interesting, because I'm more the other side. I would do 100% online. Like when we moved to the Netherlands, for example, we now live in the Netherlands. I did 100% online. I've never talked to a single person, and I'm super happy with it.
Yeah.
Comparing that to Germany, when we moved to Germany in between, especially in COVID times, like I needed to organize everything. Online didn't work properly, and it was really hard to get things organized. I needed to have the physical card to be able to do anything.
Yeah.
In the Netherlands, you have an app, everything is organized.
Yeah,
it's quite interesting.
Culturally,
yeah.
Also, the Netherlands is more advanced into making things easy for the population, the clientele, to have basically a lot of freedom in the way they approach their own way of consuming, which in Germany is a bit more traditional. The French are more balanced. It depends. The two several type of population there is, in a way, is very traditional. But on the other hand, also the willingness is there to find new ways and like innovative solutions. So in France, I find that also interesting. When you are innovative, it's also a marketing tool. So I would just to contradict what I said earlier, like that we insurer are trying to make it as easy as possible for the client. And the least visible the innovation are, almost the better it is. But in France, innovation is a word that is almost used in advertising. And it's something that differentiate, or insurers are trying to use to differentiate themselves from the competition.
Makes sense. So they more see it from a business driving perspective rather than from a reactive.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting. So you have worked in different countries, but as well in different organizations. How did you approach innovation in a group setting where you were not part of the country organization, but part of the group organization, if I understood right? How was innovation treated at that time, comparing it to when you were more entrepreneurial, driving one unit as innovating the business?
In a big group, there were two periods of time. There was one period of time was very global steering. So the group center, and it sounds great, global steering. It means that we have all the power, but basically we have no power whatsoever. So the key is to establish networks. So you would take those in colleagues of Thailand, Malaysia, Spain, Russia, Germany, and all the other countries, whatever, and bring them together into one room and let them, speak about what they do, express their problem, their frustration, their solution, and then there was a lot of sharing. We tried and we hoped that there was going to be sometimes a solution built in a country could be used in another country. But usually that type of innovative solution that are actually great, because if you in one country that worked, like even they became the first to launch that kind of approach on the market. Couldn't use that in another country because they had to rebuild everything. Systems are different. The legislation is different. And although I hate saying that, but the devil's in the detail. It actually sometimes is. And if it's not thought through before, like something that has to be adaptable from one country to all the others, then it's not it's difficultly portable. But there were lots of things that we were doing, like giving ideas so that solution could be brought back in their home country, and then they were talking about that, and then they were finding alternative solutions or copying those. And usually it works rather well, but that was always collaborative. It was never a top-down approach. Which because there was a very limited budget control, but people loved it. These network event we were doing twice a year. The people were coming, and we had a very good and solid community. And still see some of those sometimes. Last year I met some colleagues in Italy, so it was really nice.
It's quite interesting because looking back what we did in IKEA, it was similar when I worked with like sustainability and innovation around that topics. We did the same thing. As a global organization, we built an event which was kind of, let's put all the sustainability people together, the managers from the countries, and then let's work with them, workshop around certain problems to then find out solving things. And then we built like smaller tech teams that were focusing on specific areas in their countries and then bringing it back to global. Yeah. In the end, I think that's where, if you work in a very large organization, that's the way to do it. At least my view.
It is. I think it shouldn't be only. It should be all companies. So you have in insurance, you have basically companies are more or less similar in each country because they insure car, health, pension, and those sometimes a bit more, sometimes a bit less, depending on that. But basically, there could be potentially all lines of business. And I think it's very important as well that these networks are happening not only for the people in a certain area, but IT people should have their own or digital or so. So the different tribes create a real matrix organization. Like in a country in a certain way, and in globally or with region in a different way. So I think that's very powerful to create this link between people.
What is quite interesting, you said it like you're still having the relationship with the people, that the relationship is kind of the driver, like the personal connection in the end, when you put people from different parts of the organization
Yeah.
together in a physical room, maybe have some drinks in the evening and some fun as part of it.
It's part of it.
But in the end, the relationship is the thing that makes things happen, because if you know each other, then you reach out to each other. If you have a problem, you say, "Oh, there was Francois and he was in Luxembourg. I'll talk to him because he was working on a similar topic." And then you reach out. If you don't know each other or just online, you will not do that most
No.
of the time.
No.
And you don't have the trust, and kind of, I look bad when I'm not good in something.
Exactly. Because that trust is based on a different. It's not like your next colleagues trust.
Yeah.
I trust you to do that so that I can do this. It's really built over a long period of time and repetition of meetings. It is also, as you said very well, there is no competition. Well, it could be after 20 years of career and find themselves against each other for the top job, but it's usually less the case. What is usually a problem is that if a group expects to have immediately a result from those events,
Yeah.
and I don't know how it worked with IKEA. Was it also that it was step by step this trust building, and it created a flow, but slow flow of movement?
Yeah, 100%. So if you take total organization, where you like, especially I worked a lot with the sustainability part. If you want to drive something in the total organization, then that's the way to go. If you want to drive speed, then you need to something. What we did, we built like a super small team with 5 to 10 people, and they work on the edge of the organization, and then looked into how can we break it.
Yeah.
Really looking into how can we really do something that's extraordinary and completely different, that you cannot do in the normal part of the organization. You need to be somewhere invisible on the edge
Yeah.
to really like do difficult things. So one example, what we did was looking into how do we build the future sustainable IKEA store. That was a very small project in the beginning, which then was later on a huge global project, supported by CEO and the global management team, and everyone was aware of it. But it really started small. Let's look into how do we change the way we build IKEA stores.
That's interesting. I in insurance, what I've seen, and it was also something I worked on in my latest job. Is the online sales. I manage the approach sales online, and what I was seeing is that they were building the online insurance company outside even the office of the traditional insurer, because of the necessity to go faster, to have the right tone on the phone, the right training to get the right tone on the phone, I guess. Also, and so the organization was much smaller, much more agile, and totally outside. I've seen that in numerous occasions. I had discussion to do some work with one, but finally I did not. I joined this company in Luxembourg, and there we also had an online department. It was outside the standard sales team, but because we were anyway a small team, the operational department was the same for one and the other one, and it brought us always some issues in terms of flexibility for testing some things and so on. So it's when you say it has to be outside, that's very good. On the other hand, if you want to be scalable,
you need to bring it back.
You need to bring it back. So
agree.
it's like this pendulum approach, which is going to be at some point and on the other point. And I think it's also not only the structure is very important. It has to be thought through, but the structure without the people is going to work. So if you have the wrong people with the wrong structure, is not going to work.
Yeah.
And wrong in that sense means it could be a right structure for a certain type of people and wrong for others. And that's a challenge. It's how in finding the right balance is not that easy.
Yeah, and finding then the right individuals as part of that structure as well that fit into, like, if you build this on the edge, you need to almost have like the people that go through the walls and figure it out.
Yeah.
And other, you need to more the diplomats that kind of figure their way out. How do we influence the rest of the organization rather than going through the walls?
Yeah.
And that's the same. And we talked about that in the past, is like the leadership approach is completely different in certain situations as well. Like the top leadership that is supporting, let's say, this project or whatever it is, needs to be completely different if you are in certain setups.
Yeah, it's true. Although my experience is that they need freedom and support more than in terms of leadership. It's more like the vision. They have the vision. I mean, they know the vision is very short term. Is I want this client now, and then and I want this client now, and then 5 minutes later I want this one now. So it's very. I found this hunger is a bit shark-like, but not in a negative way. Simply the shark has only one thing in his mind: is eat, and that's also something that is driving. So they have very, very strong drive, and micromanagement is not something that it's not normally working with those green beret or whatever type of people. That's my experience. Freedom, and when there are some hurdles, really try to help them clear those hurdles.
Yeah, what I've seen working well with really established senior leaders, they're building trust with the team, and they're always, so that the team feels like I have someone behind me. I have someone who is holding my back. Yeah. Not nurturing, not direct management, detailed micro, but it's really, they know there is someone, and in worst case, the person is there for us.
Yeah.
And that's also trust kind of circle that you need to build up as a top leader or as a team with that top leader. Because if you don't know each other, you don't know how to play the balls.
Yeah.
Especially large organizations are always political. It's a political ecosystem. So you need to navigate that in different ways, depending on what the goal is.
I was in that position in one of the job I've done in that big group was to create a new department. So the competence is a scarce resource, and the bigger the organization, the more topic they have. So they have so many competence in so many topics. But in your topic or the topic you focus on, it's a scarce resource. So there was the thought of using one of the biggest country of that group as a basis of center of competence for a global program. So there were lots of technical competence in life and disability, accident, and some health as well. But no competence in reinsurance. So we need to pull that from another part of the organization. And when I was leading the project to establish that innovative new approach, the beginning was reinsurance was not part of that. I mean, at some point we realized, but we need that. Of course, it's very clear when you just map out at the beginning of the project your value chain and where things have to be working, then you're like, okay, I need this. So that's something that it was important, and although it's a very large organization, we need to go there and build the trust. And so it was people. We established this relationship with people, and then the department convinced the top leaders, and then bring all that together into one of the matrix, one piece of the matrix. Or the matrix organization. But bring all departments together was also needing a lot of parlay, like they say, but not like at war, but like bringing all the aligned interfaces, bring people together and carry out the big duty. But to get back to one of the points you just made, there were meetings with some of the board member of that organization and in Stuttgart and in other part. And those meetings, usually it's not where we did any work. What was important is that the other team members from the various tribes saw that there was very strong sponsor somewhere that said, I want this, and I'm following up on that. And the sign that the meeting was happening was much more important than the lack of progress we usually made in those meetings. But we were very friendly and so on, but it's true.
We did the same thing. So we invited always the top dog that was the sponsor of the meeting. That he or she opened the meeting, and then we're kind of in the back the whole 2 days. Yeah. But was just there to support. And if something popped up where we needed kind of mental support or whatever, then they would jump in. But it was always the same kind of playbook. Big dog is there opening the meeting, supporting everyone, says like, that's the direction. That's how important it is. We really need this as a business so that everyone understands it. Yeah. It's kind of, this is the way we go. There's no discussion that we don't go. So figure it out.
Yeah.
And then it always happened.
Yeah.
And the smart ones, and that's really something for those that are listening to us rambling here, is the smart ones are joining the evening activities as well. So the big dogs joining with the others in the evening activities. Maybe not until the end, but at least in the beginning, so that they're a little bit mingling. Because there are always, if the team is set up in that way, there are always people who have never, ever possibility to have access to someone in that management team members or whatever it is. And then they have the possibility to build that trust with this big dog as well. And through that, then they as well trust themselves more and going a little bit further than they would normally do, and then go back and have the motivation and say, hey, I met this person. It's good for their own ego, but as well, it's kind of driving it. When I was young, I was always pumped after this kind of meeting when I was not leading them, but I was just part of the group. It was amazing.
Yeah. One thing that worked well was fireside chat.
Yeah.
It was in the same setting. Exactly. It served the purpose that you just highlighted, but there was structure to it. So it was less mingling, chit-chatting, and so on. It was more questions and answers in a very relaxed way.
That's the difference between insurance and retail.
What do you mean? Insurance, we don't drink? No, I guarantee you there were lots of drinks as well.
We'll test later.
Yeah.
No, but I think there was more structure, more formality compared to retail. I don't know. At least comparing it to IKEA. Depends which retail company, of course.
That was the big group. Here in Luxembourg, there were lots of... we made town halls, and after town halls, there was these... was strategic. Teams was presenting, not only top-down, but also sharing. And what worked well was when the group CEO came and said hi to everyone. Sometimes... there was a junior person there, and then he introduced. He was asking questions, didn't introduce himself, and she replied to him and said, "Who are you?" You know, and cool. This is cool. In the moment, she is fearless, and it was a moment of surprise, but it was also a moment of showing human side. And really the proof that the team can actually interact with each other, and humans aren't just having a discussion without it being too formal or too artificial, you know. So that I found that quite nice.
Yeah. To your point, it's a small thing, but it makes huge difference to team members. It's not the manager is presenting; it's enabling everyone to present something. Yeah. It sounds so banal, but it's huge difference. Not just innovating, but in general. I always try to do that so that I highlight team members. When I needed to do a presentation, I did the opening, and then I tried to hand over so that, because in the end, I was just the leader. I haven't done the work. They have done the work, so they can present it as well.
Yeah.
But it's so small, but so important, and it's not happening in a lot of organizations. Because now I've worked with a lot of organizations after I left big corporate. It's not happening. It's quite fascinating. And you see the companies that are innovating more, they have a culture that allows these things to happen automatically.
It joins back this the sharing element of
Yeah.
the network earlier. It's important. I don't know if I've realized it or if other people have realized it. It's for me, it's something that goes without saying now, but I don't know if I was like that at the beginning of my career. Probably I was sharing, but I was on the doing part at that time. So, but it's something that I always did. It's important that there is a message to show direction, but at some point, if you're too long, you put people to sleep. I mean, not physically. I know sometimes they fall asleep as well, but they get bored and go on their phone and so on. So it's time to pack and somebody else has to present another topic. Yeah.
And what is interesting, at least in my career over the last 20 plus years, I remember the leaders that empowered and that supported me in my journey, and I remember as well those that like put like themselves first.
Yeah.
And senior or junior leaders, doesn't matter. I've had all of them. It's quite interesting. And then looping that back to innovation is only happening when you are empowered, when you get the trust of the people, when you yourself you feel well to do the extra step to say, okay, I take this risk. I will try this now because it's an idea. I have no idea if it's going to work, but I will try it because I know I have the back.
It's important to have the backing, especially when innovation is not always a one-way road without curves, etc. Usually, there's plenty of hurdles, and it's a hardest path. It's not like a stroll on the beach; it's more like a mountain and valleys and so on. What was the fail fast factor? I mean, in insurance, sometimes fail fast is challenging because it's you see only some element after a long period of time. So fast is not possible in that sense, and when it's sometimes you see it is a bit too late. So we tend to be a bit more risk adverse and careful to readdress a situation takes a while, and there's plenty of elements that insurance companies have put in place to avoid over adventurous approach. But by IKEA, what was fail fast? How did that happen?
I mean, it really depends on where you are inside of the business and how much you can fail. Because if you're a direct connection to the customers, then really depends how you like what are the things we can fail with and how can we make it up if we fail. So if you test new things for the customers, which are services or something, then you have a direct feedback loop. So you can iterate way faster because you have, let's say, if you have 20,000 customers every day, then you get a lot of feedback, positive and or negative.
Yeah.
So that's easier. But when we work like building this future sustainable IKEA store, you need to build it to be able to understand if it's working or not.
Yes.
So like what you do in big companies, you build the pilot country, you select the store, and then you build it, and that takes like 5 years.
Yeah.
And then and then you implement the changes. But what was quite interesting, when we did this, we looked into what are the different components and broke kind of the store down in smaller pieces. And then we looked into what are the things we can test directly in other projects with like small amount of risk, and then test that. And one of the like super basic examples, when you come from construction or architecture, like if you place the store slightly in a different angle to the sun, then you have less heat in the store. Like, yeah, that's clear. But if you then look into, it's a commercial machinery. An IKEA store is placed at the motorway, and it's placed in a way that you can see it when you drive. Like you see the logo, you see the blue box. So all of that is detailed in manuals. And then you change but no, we need to change the store by 20 degrees just so that we don't have so much heat in it. Then someone in the top organization or franchise organization who's looking at the manual is saying, hey, my friend, that's not going to work. So there were different iteration cycles with different risk appetite. And this fail fast, I mean, really depended on what it is. Brand was a non-negotiable. very hard to change anything when it comes to the conceptual branding of an IKEA store. When it comes to service and small things in the store, then you could do that even as a store team and test, iterate all the time.
Yeah.
If you then have like the organization, like the support from the leadership and the drive of the individuals, then you have it every day. But then as further you go away from that daily business, as less it's happening.
Yeah.
And then going back to your technology part, I mean, you have legacy systems in very large organizations because they have been successful for, I don't know, 40, 50, 70 years, and they have old systems. So you cannot just patch on a new thing and it works. Like talk about AI today. If you have an old structure with data structure, and I'm not an expert in this, but I just have heard like it doesn't work if you don't have the data structure. If you have like 20 different silos and you want to put an AI on top of it, it doesn't work. You need to integrate it first. You need to kind of bring all data into one pillar, and then you can use it.
Yeah, data in one
and
pillar.
That sounds easy,
or at least to have a library of what data means in this context, in this context,
Exactly.
in this context, because it's data is not is not a simple topic. That's why so many organizations are struggling with that. Legacy system, you just touch about that, and AI. AI put AI. I wonder. I mean, of course, AI can be used to program, right? So to code and they can. AI will do 80% of the job, the heavy lifting. Like sometimes we discussed that in other discussions we had. But it has to be, AI cannot do it all by itself. It needs steering. So now it's coding is more steering. Still, understanding code is very important. But I wonder if it wouldn't be more efficient to create from a solution, insurance solution from scratch, rather than just updating and upgrading and doing all that
most probably
patching. I just don't know if it makes financial sense. Which so that there's always the question, does it make sense financially? And then this is what is going to decide. Not the beauty of art. This is not art. This is the financial element.
For me, there are two aspects. So one is the time aspect. How fast can you generate the income so that it is paying back? And the other part is how much do you need to put in before you get to that point? And if you understand this too, then I think it is. And sometimes it's definitely easier technology-wise. Because if you take a huge insurance group, a global insurance group, to figure out how you can use all the newest technology across the whole company to make the whole company effective and efficient, will take years. If you build a new digital first version of that, it takes you months.
I don't know that. I think that's
not to scale, but I think to have the final solution, it will take you less than a year, I guess. Then it's more about how do you get that to adoption and to scale. That's then a different conversation.
Yeah. But the beauty of insurance is it's super challenging.
Yeah.
Is intellectually challenging, like the board member of Allianz said. It's you need to think a lot about what you're doing, understand, memorize a lot of things, because if you just have, a little angle of vision without, keeping in mind all the other elements, then you will be making mistakes and or you will lose yourself. So you mentioned big insurance group globally. There's so many differences. You merging two companies that are similar. At some point you just say, well, they solved this solution in this way, and we solved it in that way. And the same program, the same product, but it's managed differently. And to bring that together is super challenging.
Yeah.
It takes weeks, months to understand, then getting the people, then building solutions. So we took, although they're pretty similar, we took about, 1 to 2 years. But then when you have all the type of business, which is different in 50, 60 countries, sometimes I think the big countries can have a system, and small countries should have their own system and more flexibility, because or some workaround. That's what's happening.
Yeah.
The core will be could be similar, or have similarities, but workaround will be needed. And I just say that, and before we say, oh yeah, I would solve everything, but no, that's something. So there's going to be patches, but the complexity is what makes it dreadful and beautiful at the same time.
Yeah. I think one interesting approach the insurance industry as a whole could take is look at pharma and healthcare. So what they shifted, first it was you have a lot of like people working in labs and developing the drugs, developing the devices and everything. And then the big pharma owned all of that. So they had like the people in the universities working in the labs and doing the work. And now they shifted to a model because what they have seen is that startups are way faster in developing these things. And COVID was one of the driving forces of that.
Yeah.
So what they are doing is they're just investing early on in a couple of startups, and then they're picking the best ones, and then they're buying them when they're at a certain point.
Yeah.
So they put the stake in the beginning, and then they buy them later on. And through that, they get all the know-how, all the speed, because what they did, they were analyzing the last couple of years, and then what they have seen, the startups are like, if not at all, double as fast as internal, because they don't have the boundaries of a large organization.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
History is what makes the tail makes insurance slow and heavy. If you don't have that, then a white sheet of paper makes a perfect starting point for a type of business. But insurance are doing that. There's a lot of philosophical approach in insurance. There is the model where insurance want to control everything, including distribution. Is that independent distribution, online distribution, own distribution, salary distribution? So there's the interaction with the client is important, and it shows also the level of integration vertically of insurers. Sometimes they even have reinsurers part of the group to centralize the risk. Although usually it's a bit more to optimize the situation rather than just being a reinsurer. But they do that. They innovate via what they call innovation hubs, or they invest a lot in startup, like you mentioned. So they do that. Usually, what I see is that the successful they don't keep those companies. They are an incubator. They know things. They can develop strategies. I think it's very financial in the approach, so they make money out of that. And often when they buy another company, it may not be from their pool of startup. It may be from somebody else, or an independent or VC or whatever is in there. So that I see. But also another element is sometimes insurance will also delegate part of the value chain to an external provider. It's a model in very, very powerful in France. Or in the Anglo-Saxon world they call TPA, so a third-party administrator, that is going to take part of the administration of the insurance contract. That means that there's a part of the value chain is outsourced to an organization that does it better, faster. So it can be because you want to acquire languages, a product that you don't have, you would like to sell. There is a speed to market. There is purely financial. You just look at financial reason why you would do it in short and long term, optimization of human resources. There's so many elements, but there is this model or this approach to a model like that. Now, when you do that, there's a lot of question about upwards integration, because if you rely on a third-party administrator that becomes so big that he can say, well, you know what? Yeah. I want to distribute. I want to have my own contract. Well, you're not insurer yet, but I will be. So some of those they try to be. Some decided to stay insurer. Some decided not not to stay insured because it created more problems than solutions. So, but the bottom line is that you need to have a value chain that is flexible enough so that you can choose which model you want.
So if we look ahead in the insurance industry, what do you think are the one or two topics the industry needs to figure out to innovate even more so in the future?
I think that the insurance need to or will become an even more commoditized industry very soon. People don't want to spend time thinking and discussing about insurance. They just want to have insurance like they swipe on Insta or TikTok or whichever tool they have. So it has to be quick, has to be very transparent, very, very transparent. It has to be at any time. So you don't want to bother, I need to take my afternoon off because I need to meet my agent. That's just not, it's not working. And I know a lot of agents, they want to also have their own personal life. So yeah, the key is to create a model that respects distribution, because it's a very hard type of work and it's people business. Online only will be happening, but usually there will be at some point people involved. So that's something that need to remain. But the availability must be 24/7. And the key there is to balance the impact and the usage of AI and to make it responsible. AI can tell you the truth, but can also start thinking by itself and like, oh my God, where is that coming from? You know, the avatar is going to give you wrong information. And the insurer that allows that to happen is responsible, or she's responsible for it. So you need to be able to balance technology and responsibility so that insurance can be simple, faster, and always available.
Innovating insurance.
Innovating insurance.